Hello.
Hello, Sugar and Spice is back again with two lovely folk stories this time, bringing out the beautiful color and the culture, Indian heritage, and two very different stories. So let's start with the first one without too much of an explanation. So Deepthi, over to you.
Thank you, Shrija. So, we're back, like Shrija said. Lovely folk tales from all over the world. I think the folk tales have a special taste, right? A special
The flavor.
flavor to it, and it's really vivid and colorful. Most of the folk tales. So, mine is one from Tamil Nadu, and it is a temple legend actually, and it is the story behind a temple called Valli Murugan Temple, Valli Malai Murugan Temple. Okay, so that is, Murugan is supposed to be the god of mountains. So there are many famous temples, in his name in many parts of South India. One of which is Valli Malai. So the story goes like this: there was a hunter tribe which used to live in this place. It's near Vellore in Tamil Nadu, and the chief of the hunter tribe was a king called Nambirajan, and he had only sons. He did not have daughters. So his wife and he were, very sad about this. And that is when they find a girl among the creepers in the mountain, and creepers is called Valli in Tamil, and they name her Valli, and they dote on her. The brothers and the parents, they just love her so much, and she grows up to be a very beautiful young girl. And when she grows up, she is sent to the millet fields, as children were asked to do those, the girls were asked to do those days, to watch out for the birds who would come to destroy the crops and drive them away. So she was sitting there, and every day she had a practice of going to the Murugan temple and praying to Lord Murugan. And she had grown so fond of Lord Murugan that she had even expressed her love, her desire for Lord Murugan to be her husband. She wanted to marry Lord Murugan, and she was so much in love with him. Now, Lord Murugan already knew this, of course, the god that he was, and Narada Muni had also heard her mentioning, this desire. So he saw this girl, and he informed Lord Murugan that there is this beautiful girl, a tribal girl, who is waiting for you. Lord, when are you going to uh, get her and marry her? When are you going to make her your wife? So he says, yes, Narada Muni, I am going to do it right away, but not so easily. He wanted to be a little naughty with her, and he came in the form of a hunter, a young hunter, when she was sitting in the millet fields. So as soon as she saw the stranger, she was not very comfortable, and she just did not want to talk to him. But he started to flirt with her, and started telling her that you're so beautiful. Why don't you be the love of my life? You should marry me. We are both from the hunter tribe, and all those things. She said, no, I am only going to marry Lord Muruga. Please go away. That is when she heard the sound of her brothers and her father coming. They had this drumming music, when they traveled in a group. So as soon as he heard this, first he transformed into a tree, a Vengai Maram, that is apparently still there near the temple. And then afterwards, he turned into an old ascetic, an old man. So, seeing him, the brothers and the father came, took his blessings, and they went away. As soon as they left, she was like, what is this? You're trying your magic tricks on me. Whatever you do, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to be your wife. Don't, try your dirty tricks on me. Please go away. And she turned and she started walking back. That is when Lord Muruga thought of another mischief. He just thought of his brother, Lord Vinayaka, and told him to scare this young girl in the form of a wild elephant. There it stood, a huge, humongous wild elephant, trumpeting at her, and she ran back into the arms of this old man. Lord Muruga was extremely pleased, and he embraced her back and transformed himself into his true form. He thought, enough is enough, poor girl, I've done enough mischief with her. And he transformed himself into his true warrior form, and there he was seated on his peacock. And seeing this, her love of the love of her life right in front of her eyes, Valli could not contain her happiness. She was so excited and so happy. And from that day, Lord Muruga and Valli became lovers. And after a few days, she had to leave the millet fields, which was really, really sad because her parents still didn't know anything about this love affair. When she was at her parents' home, away from Lord Muruga, she looked very, very sad and lovesick. Her mother was really worried about what happened to her. She even got a woman from the village to understand what is wrong with my daughter. And the woman said she's probably possessed by some evil spirit, and they did some kind of dance. They say they did some kind of very dance. Now, these folk tales, if you notice, it just has some beautiful descriptions.
It's
So
really,
lovely.
really,
Yeah,
lovely.
they have this very dance, I believe, which to drive away the evil spirit. When they didn't know that the evil spirit, the
was the
spirit
God himself.
was
Yeah.
the God himself,
Kind
the
of
God,
exorcism.
correct, the God whom they worshipped every day. He was the one, she was in love with him, and that is the reason why she was sad. But in any case, after a few days, the two eloped, and Lord Muruga took Valli to their heavenly abode. When Narada Muni told them this was not right, you shouldn't have done this, you should have taken the consent of Valli's parents. And Lord Muruga thought he was right, and they both came back, and Lord Muruga in his true form, showed himself in his true form in front of the tribe. And Nambirajan and his people were so happy, and they requested Lord Muruga to have a grand wedding, which they wanted to do for their daughter. And they had the beautiful wedding with the lovely couple sitting on a tiger skin, and they had organized an enormous feast for the whole village. And after the beautiful ceremony of the marriage of Lord Muruga and Valli, they both left to their heavenly abode happily. And this is the story of one of the wives. Lord Muruga, in some places Lord Muruga is supposed to be an ascetic, he's a bachelor, lifelong bachelor. And in some
That's
stories,
the story that we keep hearing. So this is very interesting.
this is a very different one. I think in parts of Tamil Nadu this is believed. Otherwise, even Devayani is told to be Lord Muruga's wife. But Valli's story is exclusively in Tamil Nadu. So
It's
I
a
found it
beautiful
very
folk
interesting.
story. And that's the thing about folk stories.
Yes.
They capture little stories, which you would not even have heard about. And
very
it's
true.
very descriptive.
And I'm
very
telling
nice.
you, each place in India has a story to tell like this. There are so many stories associated with different regions.
Yes, different regions and very, very different stories. So I have one today which is
Yes,
extremely
from the
different
other
from
side of India.
the other side. So this one is from the north. This one is from Punjab, and this is nothing to do with romance, but it's a beautiful story, something I love reading. I've read this story so many times.
Yeah.
I thought I'll share it with you
So
today.
it's great that we are able to share this on this, because I'm sure
Yes.
otherwise it's confined to those regions generally.
Exactly. And folk tales, we have plenty, which we will, in our future sessions come up with more from different states. But this one, which I plan to share with you today, is from Punjab. And this is a story about a landlord, you could say, maybe a local zamindar, who owned a lot of property. He was a very rich man, and he was called Sher Dil. Yes. He had his wife, a beautiful Gulabo, and they lived in this mansion, you could say a palatial building in the village, the biggest building in the village. And he had lots of land, and he had more than 100 servants who he employed to do the work about in his house as well as his fields. But there was one problem with the Sher. He was basically a very stingy man. So every day he would sit and grumble, to his wife. He would say that, why do these servants have to eat so much? They'll eat me out of my home and hearth. I have to pay for them. I have to feed them. I have to clothe them. So his wife would tell him, very, very sensible woman, Gulabo would tell him, come on, they work for us. They have to eat. Where will they find the strength to work if we don't? They have families. We have to look after them. That's why we have so much. We shouldn't really grumble about this. But no, Sher Singh would not stop grumbling. And he would try to scrimp wherever possible, So when festivals come up, he wouldn't give them new clothes, or he'd tell them, I just gave it to you last month, so make do with that. And the poor people would work for him because they needed to, and grumble all the time. So one day when he kept grumbling to such an extent, Gulabo got very, very irritated. His wife said, look, you need these people to work. So what's the point of grumbling? Because if not, you'll have to call a demon to help you out. Because I don't know who else is going to do all this work for you. Now she just said that, and she walked into the kitchen to supervise her maids there. But this thought stuck in Chedil's head. He said, a demon, why didn't I? And it's his wife, you're brilliant. As usual, you always come up with a solution. Now I know what I should do. Now Gulabo heard him and she went, but she dismissed it. She thought, okay, he's just saying it. But he actually thought about it. He thought about it. Sher Singh thought to himself that if I have a demon to work for me, then I don't need all these people. I can save so much of money. Why do I have to spend it? So he knew one person who was into, an old man who was into voodoo and who knew how to call on spirits, and of course he knew how to call on demons as well. So that's one thing about folk stories, you have people who are readily available for all these activities. So he went in search of this old man who very casually asked him, okay, so what do you want a demon for? It's like, the demons are available, I'll just get them for you. So Gulabo said, no, I want him for work. I want him to work for me as a servant. So the old man said, okay, your wish, are you sure? Yes, of course I want a demon. Fine. So he takes out his stick, a magical stick apparently, and he pushes it down into the earth, and he closes his eyes and he chants, a few verses, magical words, and slowly there's this thin film of smoke that comes out from the stick, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it starts getting more, solidifying, and very soon all that vapor transforms into this gigantic demon, as tall as the palm trees. The story says it's as tall as the palm trees and huge and blue in color to make it even more scary. And he rumbles in a deep voice, why have I been summoned? Yes, why did you call me? So at the magic man, you could call him, or the man who knew how to summon him, said, it's not for me. He wanted, and he points out Sher Singh and says, he is your master. He wants you to work for him. So the demon looks down scornfully at Sher Singh and says, does he know is he aware of my conditions? So Sher Singh looks a little surprised. Conditions? I didn't know about that. Oh, didn't he tell you? I have conditions. So what are your conditions, O demon? And demon says, well, I have to be working continuously from morning to night. So you have to make sure that you give me something to do. And what happens if there is no work? He laughs, because Sher Singh knows there's a lot of work. So he laughs. And if there's no work, then I eat you up. You eat me up? Yes. So it's up to you now. This ferocious demon towers over him and tells him, I'll work for you provided you give me work from morning to night. So Sher Singh laughs loudly and says, oh, that is a problem easily solved, my dear demon. There's enough work for you. You'll work and there won't be any complaints. So come along, let's go. He thanks the man who summoned it for him. And he says, okay, what's the first thing you want me to do? The demon asks him. So he says, I want to go home. Is that it? He picks up Sher Singh like, a little feather, and tucks him behind his ear, his huge ear, and he jumps into the sky. Sher Singh clutches on to the demon's huge ear and looks down, he's shocked. I mean, he's never been in a situation like this before, and before he could wink his eye, he finds himself placed in front of his own door. He's home. So he says, my God, this is fantastic. And he tells the demon, I'll give you your jobs. Just give me a minute. And he rushes in and sends off all his servants. The first thing he does, pack, go. I don't need any of you. So they say, but master, where will we go? And Gulabo was shocked. What are you doing? I'll tell you, woman, you keep quiet. I know what I'm doing. Now all of you go. I don't want any of you around here. So he sacks all his servants. He comes back to the demon saying, okay, you're taking too much of time. I'm on my work. And he tells him, okay, go on. You need to go plow the fields, sow them, yes, get them ready for the next harvest. And then he gives him a whole list of jobs. And he says, okay, now you let me relax. And he pulls out the charpai that they use in Punjab. Yes, it's this wooden cot with, strings all over them. It's ropes tied on them, very comfortable. He spreads himself out on his charpai and closes his eyes. Now let me have a nice nap. He's reaches the first snore and somebody shakes him roughly, so he jumps up. What happened? And he finds the demon standing there. I'm done with my work. What's my next job? What do you mean you're done with it? Of course I finished sewing. You can have a look. He just peers over the fence. There's a fence close by to see, and everything looks done. He says, okay, that was very fast. Okay, now, and he gives him another few other jobs. Okay, why don't you go clear up this, clean up the livestock, feed the cows, and a whole lot of jobs. And the demon says, done, and he disappears. Now, he tries to sleep again, and again, when he closes his eyes, the demon's back. Demon says, my work is done. Now, quickly, what's your next? I want to know. And he looks menacingly at him, Okay, do you have anything else for me to do? I do. Why don't you build a fence around the property? And he has this huge property, acres and acres of land. Get started on that. Okay, the demon disappears. But this time, Sher Singh is not able to sleep. He sits up and he watches. He goes into his house, and from the kitchen window, he peeps and watches the demon, and he finds him chopping wood and working at lightning speed. And he can see him move really like lightning across the field, building up the fence. And he is scared. He turns and he finds his wife behind him. Why are you hiding in the kitchen? Gulabo, I'm in a mess now. I don't know what to do. This demon works at a speed that I never imagined. Now, what do I give him? I don't have anything else to give him. What do I do? I've been such a fool, and he's going to eat me up. What will we do now? Gulabo, in a very calm, and as usual, as we said, she was a person who always sorted things out, So she tells him, don't worry, husband. You do one thing. You go have your nap. Let me deal with this. We'll sort it out. And he says, seriously, woman, what are you going to do? Why don't you go? And he doesn't want the demon to see him, so he hides and goes behind, to a corner of the house when he can't be seen. And the demon is back in no time, knocking on the door. And when Gulabo opens, Gulabo scolds the demon. What is wrong with you? Why are you knocking so hard? Don't you know your master's sleeping? And the demon looks at her, again scornfully and says, look, I finished with my work. Do you have something for me to do? If not, let me eat you up and finish my work. So I'll eat both of you up. She says, wait, there's more work to be done. Master will be back. He's just resting. But meanwhile, will you do a tiny little job for me? It's a very small thing, nothing great for you. So he says, yeah, what is it that you want me to do now, mistress? And she says, there was a dog that used to keep coming to the door for crumbs, it was a dog that lived on the grounds. And the dog was sitting there looking bored. And she said, you see the dog over there? He said, yes. Can you see its tail? And he saw a very nice curly tail, So just straighten that out for me. I'm sick of seeing this curly tail. I want that straightened out. Is that it? That's what you want me, a superior demon like me, to do? He says, I'm a simple woman. I have simple things to be, I have simple jobs, not like your master. Do it for me. By the time, I'm sure master will come and give you the rest of the chores that you have to do. Okay, and the demon went to the dog, picked it up and straightened it out. Here, that's done. The minute he left it, the tail was back to its old position. This is strange. He straightens it out again, back again. He does this for a while and he starts feeling ashamed of himself. I mean, this is ridiculous. What is this job? And I'm not able to do anything. And the dog sat quietly for the first few unfurlings of his tail, and then he got bugged. What the hell is this creature doing with my tail? The dog started getting snappish. It turned around, started barking, and started chasing the demon all over the place. Enough, this is my tail. What's wrong with you? And the huge demon ran around with this tiny little dog behind him, and he was so ashamed of this. I can't believe it that I can't do such a small job for this woman. I better get back to where I'm from because I have no excuses for this. And he runs back into the forest and into the demon land that he had come from, never to return again. So after a while, Sher Singh peeped out from the window. Has he gone? Yes, he has, Gulabo says, and looks at him without saying anything. He says, no, no, I get it. And he rushed out and called back all the servants that he had sent off and says, please come back. And they were really surprised that the master was back. Poor things, they were wondering what to do with we have to look for other jobs. He says, no, come back. And the first thing Sher Singh did was he arranged this fantastic feast for all of them, fed them till their tongue, if they felt their tummies would burst, gave them gifts of new clothes and said, never again am I going to be greedy and stingy. These are two qualities that almost destroyed me. The demon would have eaten me. It was a very stupid thing to do. And if it wasn't for my wise wife, I wouldn't even be here today. And he hugged Gulabo and said, thank you so much. And Gulabo said, yes. So this is one way in this folk story, a woman who taught her husband a lesson in a very nice way. And, he appreciated it, That's what happens. And you have to read the story to get the little details which I'm sure I haven't been able to cover in my narration, but the story is a very sweet story.
Very sweet,
From
cute
Punjab,
story.
yes.
Yeah, I know. I could
So-
actually visualize Gulabo.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
very, very. You can imagine.
Yeah, and a woman of few words.
Oh yes, with
she's
solid
action.
action. She believes in action and very simple,
Yes.
So that's the story of the demon worker, and
Yeah,
I think
I hope our listeners also, after a very very long time, we have come up with something different.
yes.
So yeah, we plan to do more of these kind of stories and also from some other kind of stories, different genres, whichever you are you are also looking forward to listen to.
As usual, we
Please let
always
us
say,
know.
let us know.
Yeah.
Your feedback is valuable. Your suggestions are valuable. So
Yes.
go ahead. Do like our story and do stay tuned. We'll be back.
Stay tuned with Sugar and Spice. For
Yes.
now, it's bye
Bye bye. We love you.